Hi, this is Steve. I'm here at my test bench and ready to begin the AMD test drive. So we're looking at the motherboard here. This is an MSI motherboard. It's a micro ATX board. And my goal right now is just to get the board up and running and ensure that it is functional. And to do that, I really only need to install a few things just to do a simple bare bones setup, and that's going to be install the processor here, install a cooler, and I'm just going to use a temporary cooler that I use on my test bench at the moment. I'll install the other one later. Install the memory here, and then just hook it up to the power, hook up a monitor, keyboard, and mouse, and that's going to be sufficient just to see if this is up and going. This is the APU. This is again Richland APU that was sent out, and to install that we're going to lift up the arm here of the socket, and there's a little gold triangle which is at this corner, and I need to match that up with the triangle here, and it just drops into place. No pressure required at all, it just drops in, and I make sure it's seated well, and then the arm goes down. Okay, that's installed. Now let's do the memory next. I've got the Radeon memory. I've got two modules here. The motherboard and the chipset support dual channel, so when I do a system build I normally include two modules in memory to take advantage of that. I remember back in the K8 days they said it gave you about a 10% performance boost over single channel. I don't know if that's still true, but I think you do get some performance boost. So two modules to take advantage of dual channel. This is notched. So there's a notch right here, and you line that up with the appropriate notch in the memory socket. So I'm just going to drop it in and do the same with the other one. Here's the other one. And then once they're dropped in, I'm just going to apply direct pressure to the top along the midline until it snaps in. Okay, and now those are inserted. Alright, now I need a cooler. And I have here, this is an old heat pipe, heat sink fan I've had for a long time, and I'm just going to be installing this temporarily just for testing purposes. I need to apply a little bit of Arctic Silver, but you could use whatever you prefer. Just to the top. There's already a bunch of Arctic Silver residue on the bottom of the heatsink, so I'm not actually applying a whole lot here at the moment. I'll just apply a little bit and then allow the remaining residue to make up the extra volume. Again, this is just temporary. I would be much more thorough once I put on the final cooling solution. Alright, that side's on, that side's on. Crank the crank, and it's now secure. Here is the fan plug, and it's going to go right here. It's a 4-pin plug. Okay, so that's on. Alright, that's the components I need. Now I need to plug in some stuff. I've got my monitor here. I'm just using an old VGA monitor, which I use for testing. Again, that's not the final thing. Here's my mouse, USB mouse. That goes here. I've got an old PS2 style keyboard. Okay, those things are plugged in. I'm also going to be inserting this. This is my postcard. What it does is it monitors the postcodes as the board posts up, and it displays them on this 8-digit display here. And I actually these days I rarely ever bother to look up the postcodes if there's a problem with the board hanging, but that in theory is what it allows you to do. These days I rarely do that. I usually just use it to look for whether there is a problem or there isn't a problem. If there is a problem, I start troubleshooting it. It's kind of my security blanket, so I'm going to go ahead and install it anyway. Just fits right there into the PCI slot. Okay. I need to hook up the power connectors. So in the front here, where I'm pointing, and it's probably hard to see now on camera, so let me elevate this a bit. Power, the main power is down here. Right in the front, it's the 24-pin power connector. There's also a 4-pin power connector required right over on this side where I'm pointing now. So I need to connect both of those up. So let's do that. 24-pin. Okay, I have an 8-pin power connector here, but the thing with that is, as long as there's room on the board, you can use the 8-pin and plug it into a 4-pin connector as long as you have it aligned the right way. And it's keyed so that it doesn't allow you to plug it in the wrong way. So, and you can do that because the wiring is such that the 8-pin plug will still work with the 4-pin connector. I will plug in the main power now. I don't see anything. This particular board does not have any indicator lights on it to tell you anything, so I'm just going to go ahead. And I've already looked in the manual to see which pins I need to cross in order to start the board. Of course, normally you push a button, but the buttons aren't hooked up yet. So here we are. Alright, and I see numbers going on my postcode. I've got the fan spinning, so something's happening. I don't see anything on the... I see the lights flashing on the keyboard. I see light flashing on the mouse. And it would help if I turn my monitor on. Okay, it's on. Alright, so let's move the camera again, and I will show you what's happening on the monitor. And there we are. We're in the BIOS, or it's really the UEFI. I guess we're supposed to stop using the BIOS name. So the time's wrong, the date's almost right. Okay, and I can see here the BIOS is version 1.5, and I've already looked up online and seen that BIOS latest BIOS is, I think, 2.1, and starting with 2.0, that's where they did the changeover to Richland. So I'm going to want to update this. You can see here I've got, you know, A10 6800K, so it recognizes apparently the name of the CPU. I can see already, you know, our temperature's up to 60 degrees, which is kind of high just for an idling processor, and I think that alone is an indicator to me that I really need to update the BIOS on this. And I see the temperature's still climbing, and you know, it's just sitting there idling. So I really need to update the BIOS on this, and hopefully the idle temperature will come down. And so that's what I'm going to do next.